Welcome to the Small Business Show. My name is Swire from Garuda Promo. In this episode, we have Randy Lopez, Executive Director for the Claremont Chamber of Commerce. Welcome to the show, Randy.
Oh, thank you, Swire.
Just a quick disclaimer, Garuda Promo is a member of the Chamber here at Claremont, and I'm also a proud ambassador for the Chamber.
Yeah, glad to have you be on board and for doing this.
Thank you, Randy. So can you tell us a little bit about your professional background? I know that you have a consulting background in marketing and branding, and how did you transition that to become executive director for the Chamber?
Well, is it a long time for this show? How much time do we have? Because that's a big story. My background is marketing and branding, so I came from a lot of the restaurant industry.
Okay.
So long story short, I was the director of marketing for TGI Fridays for the largest franchisee. Also roles, I was the vice president of marketing for Buca di Beppo restaurants from that chain. We actually didn't call them a chain, we called them a collection of neighborhood restaurants. Mm-hmm. Sorry, my branding mind went back. And then Del Taco, I was the vice president of marketing for a bit there, wow, as well as Ruby's Diner. And so I did that. I was also on the agency side for about 8 years. So I was with a wonderful agency in Irvine and one in Manhattan Beach in LA called G&M Plumbing. The other one was Johnson Gray. And so with that, I led new accounts, new business, led the strategy, account teams. So that was all wonderful because I was able to do in all of those jobs marketing with a background in operations and restaurants, so mm-hmm, working with wonderful brands. And then on the agency side, being able to lead campaigns and do strategy. After that, I actually did strategy as a consultant for the restaurant industry with a company based in Newport Beach. And I did worked on brands, large brands, mom and pop, individual, but chains throughout the country. So I spent a number of years working on basically every type of restaurant, and then also working on everything else from hospitals. Toshiba was my client. Wow. Let's see. The Pirates Adventure Dinner Theater, I don't know if I got the name right, and hospitals. I even did the rebranding for University of California, Irvine. Wow. So I've been able to do a lot of different things. So I've always had this background of being kind of marketing agnostic, not mm-hmm, not basically saying you have to do this, but what's best for the brand, what's best for the budget. And with all of that consulting, when I started with the Chamber of Claremont, I was actually a member. I came and joined with Buca di Beppo as a member when we opened the Claremont location. That was the old Smorgasbord. And then we joined the Chamber, which we would do throughout the country. So I would train my teams to be a part of that. And then, disclaimer, I'm also a founder of Ophelia's Jump, a professional theater company that's here, and we joined the Chamber, and that's kind of how I got really involved with it, because through Ophelia's Jump I needed to build my own brand. So I jumped in, and with the guidance of leaders like Nikki Heskin, who was the president, was the chair for a while, so I got involved that way, and then consulted. And long story short, when the previous head of the Chamber left, I applied like everybody else because I love Claremont, love the business community here, and got tired of LA traffic. And I just thought, yeah, right. So, so this allows me to work with all these wonderful businesses, work with the city, and then from time to time I still do some teaching. I teach at the University of Laverne on classes on marketing, branding, and then every once in a while I'll have a client or some that I'm still working with, but. I'm enjoying it. So that's the Reader's Digest of a lot of years, because I'm old.
Mind if we jump on to a tough question real quick?
Yeah.
I know why Chamber of Commerce work for me, but I've also talked to a lot of people at mixers, at networking events. They're saying that networking don't work anymore. It's all about digital marketing. It's all about Facebook ads. It's all about Google searches. You don't really need to see it's all about impression. Just see my ad, buy my stuff, and that's it.
Right.
Is joining the Chamber of Commerce in this age still makes sense?
Well, it's interesting. There's a couple schools of thought. So I did a lot with my clients. I've done Google AdWords, analytics, banner ads, full campaigns. Did all of that. There's a need for that. There's definitely a need, and I think of it as part of your marketing plan. When all is said and done, networking is still hugely important, and so even with the chambers, to build a presence in a community, to build a presence with your peers, to build a presence and understand the market and the demo that you're working in, you reach people by joining places like the chamber. I've joined chambers. I was a member of the Irvine Chamber. I've been a member of LA. I've been a member of a number of networking groups. I always come back. And I think what's interesting is that as chambers we're going to be going into our second 100 years. So we're going to be 100 years in 2022.
Wow.
And so my focus is how do you keep all of this relevant? Mm-hmm. How do you keep chambers interesting for the future? And so there has to be education, and there has to be the ability to network. So I feel that we have ample opportunities to network with a lot of different people. I can't think of another organization, and that's not because, actually this is because I was a member of the chamber, where I could get access to the influencers in the community at one time, where I can meet. Yeah, that is the place. I started this phrase with the Claremont Chamber that it all starts here, because I think Claremont's a wonderful place. We have wonderful nonprofits, charity organizations. We have a relationship with the city. We have a relationship with all the different voices, opposing and voices, and the chamber is a place where we can actually talk and do things and have that FaceTime. So I can't think of another place where I would network more. There are other networking groups, but unfortunately I think sometimes some of those networking groups are, you only have one person wearing a hat for this industry, and which is great because you have that FaceTime, but with the chamber I can meet 20 attorneys, I can meet people starting out businesses, I can meet the city manager. So I'm a little biased, but I think that there's still that opportunity to do traditional marketing,
right?
Because you can't just plan on networking as your sole source of leads or membership. So as part of your business strategy, then I would probably say it's networking, it's also advertising, it's probably online and everything else.
I think you hit on a good point for the education for networking, because for my personal experience, I've been doing networking for about 10 years now.
Yeah.
And I'm normally, when I'm not in business, I'm a shy person. So when it's social gathering, I'll hide and I'll pretend that I'm eating.
Right.
I'm drinking something, I'm eating, just to avoid the conversation. So in the Chamber of Commerce, sometimes it's overwhelmed. Like the breakfast, Claremont breakfast that we have every month, there could be over 100 people.
Yeah.
So for people who are not trained to do networking, that's really scary.
Right.
Very intimidating. So I can spot them out. Usually they go to the corner, or they try to pretend they're drinking coffee. So I like to open up the conversation for them. And for me personally, that's why I became an ambassador for the chamber. I'm kind of forced and encouraged to talk to people. Right. So then I know once I talk business, then I could talk for a long time. Right. But then if you left me alone in the corner, then I'll just head out the door. So I think this is a learned skills, or maybe some of the people who said it doesn't work didn't really put in the time to learn it.
Yeah, and it's also, there's different types of networking, because some people getting up at 7:30 and networking, that's tough. And some people do better when they have a cocktail at a happy hour. Or some people, if they go to the women's business lunch, or if they go to one of the different specific, they may be smaller groups, the other types of get-togethers that we have. Some are, 10 people. There's committees, where we have committees where could be anywhere from 5 to 10 people in the room. So I think there's opportunities for whatever style you have.
Just find the right style or topic.
And I think too, I agree, because when I first went to the chamber breakfast, there's 100 people,
Right.
don't know anybody, and a lot of people know each other, so it's intimidating. So I think by having amazing ambassadors like yourself, and what Cindy, our chair of that group, has done with the ambassadors, we're trying to make it a lot more comfortable, casual. Even our meetings themselves, I'm happy because one of the last meetings, breakfast, we had 2 babies there, which I thought was great.
The only Chamber of Commerce
Right.
meeting I've seen babies.
Yeah, and I thought it was
And
just...
they're proud, and people
Right.
they're popular.
Yeah, exactly. But I think it's just making things comfortable and not feeling that you have to go there and that it's work. Because what I want personally is for people to join the chamber, and it's a long-term relationship. It's should be a part of your business strategy. So, I don't necessarily feel there's a lot of value if you just join the chamber, you do a grand opening event, you do something, and then you're gone in a year. It's like anything else. You've probably learned in networking, those leads that you make at the beginning sometimes can cultivate and take years.
Yeah, sometimes it happens in 5 years, or when they switch jobs, now they can use me.
Right. So
before they can.
Right. You're building all of that trust, and so it is a process. And I think what we're trying to do is just provide more opportunities for people to do that. I mean, we're even this year. We have our lunch mob where we go and, we just show up and have lunch. There's no formal presentations. It's just people go and meet and have lunch and get together. But we're going to do one for breakfast now, too, an alternate.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
So, sometimes it's easier to just get a cup of coffee in the morning like you normally do
I'm
before.
a morning person.
Right. And then try to do some things in the evenings for people. My challenge, too, I think, when I started was so many of the events were at noon during the week, and I was never around.
Yeah, noon is tough.
So I think it's, and then doing more programs and working with the different organizations and leaders within our community to combine and create content. So, I think it's looking at the chamber as a supplement of something to do, because you're going to be involved as a business person with professional organizations as well. If you're a real estate person, you're probably involved with the California Board of Realtors, maybe go to some work study groups with that. But then this should be just part of that kit of what you're doing. And that's kind of how we want to keep the chamber and keep it growing.
Right. So I think in the intro you said that, when you are a consultant, you try to brand yourself within the chamber. So what would you suggest a member and how they should brand themselves within the chamber?
Well, I think first off, go through your membership and find out exactly what you get when you sign up, and take advantage of all of those things. So that's your presence online, that's the ability to push content out, to go to breakfast and give out things or just present. There's a lot of ways to do that, and just kind of pepper that throughout the year as part of your marketing plan. The other part, I think, is go through and see which events are best for your business and how do you want to do it. And one thing that we are willing to do is sit down with members and kind of help them with a plan of how to get the most out of the chamber. And then having ambassadors like yourself that have businesses to kind of guide people. And even our regular membership, I invite people to just go to current members and just say, how do I do this? Or what's the best way to work? It's not a chamber membership and being involved with the chamber is, it should be easy. It should be something you enjoy. And it should be also something you're doing with other business strategies. We are not, we do marketing in the sense that you're getting your word out, but we're not a marketing company. So I think the expectation is that we're here to help you get educated. We work with the city to make Claremont business friendly and support our businesses. So we're also working on legislation. We're working on things like getting the gold line here. We are also a part of the Convention Visitors Bureau. We are the Convention Visitors Bureau, so we're working with the tourism to bring people into Claremont. So we have a lot of different functions that we provide and work on that I also think people need to be educated on, because sometimes they they just don't see it. And so that's part of, I want to start telling people kind of what we do.
You do meet a lot of people
Yeah.
from all over the place with different background, and
Yeah.
I learn a lot of things going to breakfast because there are topics that I have never heard about, but there are people really motivated, and I talk to them and they were able to tell me a lot more than reading on a website or
Yeah.
speaking to the actual person helps.
Yeah, it's great. I mean, I'm doing things like trying to get our city manager there just to answer questions and give updates. And so our mayor will do that, as well as other community leaders. If there's some big event going on or there's development, we have opportunities for our members to kind of hear about it and be part of it. We even are doing a community relations committee that we started this last year, which is a group. It's an open for our membership, and it's to vet and discuss issues that are going on in Claremont that affect our business community. So, and it's meant to be a round table where we do talk on opposing views and just let people converse. So that's really important to me, to try to have opportunities for people to talk and not come with an agenda, which some people may think that we do, but we don't. We really want people to talk and then come up with recommendations on how we should support or not support certain things in the city.
Yeah, because I think when you go to the breakfast, you have 100 people. They like different topics.
Yeah.
They're against certain things.
Right.
So I'm sure that you can find your own, group of people that you can expand on. Or if I really need help in HR,
Right.
I need help in marketing, or I
Yeah.
need, design a website. I'm
Yeah.
sure people are in there. You might not be able to find people online, and I think by talking to a business professional for 2 minutes,
Right.
will be better than you read 100 of websites.
Yeah, I
you
think
could
you're
tell
right.
right away
Yeah.
if something is right for you or not.
I mean, I think right now we're back into a world where we're looking at local relationships and partnerships. That businesses are realizing you can't do everything by yourself, and sometimes to do events or promotions, it's good to partner with somebody with a similar brand, a similar story, and try to help people. We're doing a lot more of that now, and I think that's something that people will be coming back to chambers even more so. We're seeing strong things with membership, and this is just throughout the country, that people are looking for that kind of relationships, and even large brands that before would take away a lot of that kind of budget for local store and just do national advertising are going back to cutting national advertising.
Wow.
And you're seeing brands like Coke and soft drinks are even getting rid of a lot of social media and
Really?
going back to guerrilla marketing tactics and getting out to communities and touching and getting things out. So it's those are trends that I still look at and I follow on a global and a national level to make sure that we're cognizant in that what we do is representative of that as well.
It's very interesting. I would like to share one of my thinking, I guess.
Yeah.
I call it, compared to how I would start networking 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Before, when I go to a big mixer, I would just bring a lot of cards.
Right.
And I'll make sure that everyone has my card that
Right.
night, and I'll make sure that I collect tons of cards.
Uh-huh.
And then that's it.
Right.
I email them and it didn't happen, and said it didn't work. But I think about 5 years ago, I was able to talk to a seasoned networker,
Right.
and then he showed me that show interest in people. It's not about how many people you talk to; it's about how many people you're able to connect with.
Right.
So by being an ambassador for me too, I like to reach out to people and ask them, what's a good contact for you?
Right.
How can I help to grow your business?
Right.
And if I could see there's another member that can help them, I connect them right away.
Yeah.
So I think connecting people in networking, that helps, and people remember you. If
Yeah.
I connect them with something that they've been dying to meet,
Right.
and then I will become, a good
Right.
contact for them. And didn't ask for anything in return,
Right.
but then obviously when something does happen that needs my service, and I'm sure that
Right.
then I will be the first that they will call. And I think in Chamber of Commerce,
Yeah.
once I change my approach,
Yeah.
I think my bottom line has increased a lot, because I'm trying to see how can I help you before I say buy my stuff.
Right.
Buy my stuff.
Right.
Which is a lot of time where I see people who say that the chamber doesn't work. are doing that. They give out cards, they try to hard
Right.
sell you, and then if it didn't work, they move on.
Well, yeah, I mean, you see, you're exactly right. I mean, it's when you become a conduit, and that's what people are looking for or responding to. They want to trust you, and particularly for you, you do services, branded services, and you may not need something right now, but
Right.
it may be something down the road, or you may be talking to someone else, and you just, I know, basically what happens is they say, I know Swire, I trust him, I've got this problem, I'll give it to you, you tell me what I can do with it.
Right.
And that's what you want. And I think that being a conduit is the most important thing and the most powerful thing you can do, is just have that sense of trust. And I agree, I've gone to business meetings where you go and people are just handing out cards, they're not even looking at your eyes. They're just collecting cards. And I don't remember that, but there are meetings I've had and conventions and conferences from 20 years ago with people that I met, and I remember them, and 10 years later I'm doing something with them.
There are people who can emotionally connect you, like when you think of something, they're the only guy.
Right.
They're the only person. Like you won't even consider anything else, like because you trust that person, or somehow
Yeah.
they brought you a good experience,
Right.
or something that happened on that day, then you just remember it forever.
Yeah, I mean, that's how I worked with, even on the agency side, when if they were looking for value or if they were looking for price, a lot of times I wouldn't be the cheapest. So I would just say, I can't, fine, I wish you well, but it's a different thing. Or companies where I just couldn't do what they wanted and would just tell them and have a relationship. And that worked out great. I mean, it's just that honesty and that relationship is really what works. I think a lot of that was too, you asked about all the changes and why, how you go from one job and moving and then coming into what, and I had a health issue, a cancer survivor, so I'm a stage 4. And I think during all that changed the way that I even looked at the way you run businesses and the way that you interact with people, because it just changes the way you think about things. So relationships and people and long-term and all those things are more important. So that affected the way that I even just approached meetings. I mean, I can meet somebody like you, and in 5 minutes we're friends, and you kind of just have you put more trust in somebody like that, and relationships. And then you also, on the other hand, when things just don't seem right, you just don't follow them. So it's interesting. But yeah, networking is. I love talking about networking.
It's a learned skill. I think we both agree that it doesn't happen right away. It's a skill that you learn, just like riding a bike or
and it's exhausting.
Yeah.
I mean, it still is, right? I mean, you still put a lot of time into it, but when you can do it in a situation for example, chambers, which we're talking about, when you're with people that you respect and they become friends, then it becomes a fun kind of community. And I see that with other chambers. Upland is a wonderful chamber that has relationships that you can see that when you go there, they're friends. People really like and support each other. And other cities are a lot like that. So that's really what we're doing. We're trying to build this. We're also, let me also mention too, that we've done a lot of outreach with other chambers too. Because now, and I think you've gone to some of those events too.
Foothill Alliance.
Yeah, Foothill Alliance. So Foothill Chambers Alliance. So where we work with other chambers along the San Gabriel corridor around our community. And there's nothing more expected than people just to meet each other. And it's something that's a really nice open-ended handshake between chambers that we're doing.
Yeah, and I like going out of my comfort zone, like to meet new people. And you never know who you're going to run into. Can you tell us a little bit more about the history of the Chamber of Commerce? And I know 2020 is a big year for everyone. Year. Are you working on something excited then you could share with us?
Well, I wish I could talk, on the first part on the history. I wasn't there. I am old. I probably could have been there for a lot of it. What's interesting is I'm able to go through the files and find old pictures and things that we've had. So it's been a really interesting history of this chamber, of this community, relatively young. When you think 100 years, it's still not that long. As I get older, I realize that. But we've had a strong community. And I think kind of keeping where the chamber has come from, that tie, the relationships, keeping the town and gown relationship with the education and the political environment and all of that is exciting. In terms of going forward, we just did a really neat thing where I had students, business students from the colleges, work on a project for us where I basically asked them to do research on what trends on chambers throughout the country.
Okay.
Also looking at programming and positioning of chambers that would make it more relevant for future businesses. So I'm looking more into the future of the younger business people, the people that won't have brick and mortar, that are doing online or doing different types of businesses. How will they utilize the chamber, and what kind of resources do we provide them to make us relevant? So that's kind of what we're working on. We're going through a lot of research right now. Programming too, education, but I think a big part of the 100 year is a celebration. We have a number of members that have been here since the beginning.
Wow.
That I'm still able to find, or at least maybe since the 30s. So we'll be celebrating a lot of those folks and the organizations that are behind them. I think it's going to be, Claremont's really interesting when we have big celebrations, when we have a centennial, or we do we even celebrated our zip code one year. Yeah, 91711 one day. So it'll be fun to do something. And I think we'll be working with the board and our chair to come up with some new programs, working with you and the ambassadors and all the committees and doing some things. We're going to do some different types of fundraisers, but a lot of it too is getting us into since we're a nonprofit, just making sure we're making enough money to keep the doors open, and making enough money to where we can provide content and programs without having to make that a financial strain on our members, and really let them get a lot more benefit. So that's kind of a big focus on it. But so in terms of big programs, I don't know. We'll see what happens. I think Village Venture that year will have to be extra special.
Yeah.
And we'll have to do some special things with the city, and so I'll keep you posted. But I think kind of like Disneyland, when they do an event for 100 years, or Mickey's birthday, it lasts 4 or 5 years. One of those anniversaries will last forever. So I have a feeling our anniversary will probably last for a few years. We'll make sure some things are going on.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah, I think it'll be great.
Okay. So final question, Randy. Yeah. It's can you kind of let us know your advice to tie in all the marketing, branding, Chamber of Commerce all into one place?
That's a big question. Sure, I guess there's a lot of different things about it. Right now, there's no silver bullet on how to do things right, or what to do for your business. But I do think the best thing to do is to, first off, make sure that whatever you're promoting or whatever you're doing for your business is your brand-centric. It's your story. You're telling your story throughout your touch points and picking those touch points. I think now everybody's utilizing a lot of different marketing and community events and different things to kind of push each other, to help each other, and help your brand. Let me use you for an example. I mean, you're using this in a great way. You're going to the chamber. You go to meetings. You're an ambassador, so you're meeting folks even more so. You also utilize all the content that the chamber has to offer. I see you with newsletters and posting things and getting your press releases, so you're getting that story out. You're also doing, I'm not sure what other traditional advertising that you are doing, but I'm sure you've got plans and doing things. You're also doing things like this, taking advantage of relationships and getting out there, and you're helping brands and people tell their stories, so you're educating a large community, but you're also educating them about yourself. So you're having this content that you're pushing out online, on print. So you're doing a really nice strategic job of this. And that's kind of where everybody needs to be thinking of, is how do they communicate their brand, their business, utilizing all the tools that they have and take advantage. Like the chamber, you can't just join and not show up. And if you want to just be a member, just to have the plaque, great, that's wonderful. But you're missing out on so much. And even if you just go for a couple of meetings a year just to meet and reconnect with people or find out who the players are, because it changes. You have to do that. And so, in terms of marketing and branding, what I tell people is get your story out as many places as you can, be strategic about it, and also educate yourself on what are the tools. And how do you keep your brand relevant? How do you keep it top of mind? And how do you not destroy your brand? And to not talk ill of any groups, but in the past, maybe 5 years ago, everybody was doing Groupon. Remember when everybody was doing like discounts and doing all those things?
Those
couponing?
kind of hurt people.
They hurt.
At the end.
Basically, I don't know of many businesses that did well with that model. Groupon in those places did well. But in terms of building brands, it never comes to, get on a soapbox. It never comes about price. It comes about quality, and it comes about trust. And things that you're doing like this and you're getting out there, you're building trust, and you're building your brand that way.
Totally agree with the story part, because like myself, there are brands that I'm really hardcore about because I like the story. Whatever that they have, I support 100%. I wouldn't even consider buying product from their competitor. It's just, sometimes a brand company build a good story. Either it's local, national, or even this small mom and pop. People like your story, and there are thousands of restaurants everywhere. Why would people want to go to your restaurant? Because they they like your story.
And that brings up a good point. That brings up storytelling. I mean, that's something we never talked about in marketing. We did it without kind of using that word. But storytelling now, every brand, what are your values? Who do you support? What do you believe in? How do you treat your employees? All those stories come out. And even for yourself, you are a brand. I'm a brand. We all are individually brands. And how do we keep those stories alive as well?
Yeah, because sometimes I'm at the age now that if I read something that they're horrible to their employees, or they don't pay their taxes, whatever, then I'll really try to stay away from them. Even they're a big corporation, or they even something local. People have choices. Why should they buy from you instead of your competitors? Because I agree with you also, not competing on price. People go to you for a reason. They trust you. They've been watching you.
Be fair, but
Like I have customer who call me. They said, we've been watching you for a few months now. Like the things that you said, the things that you care about, the article that you share, and we think that you're a good fit maybe for a company. Then would you want to have a meeting? So people do watch from Chamber of Commerce, from online. Be careful of what you share, your opinion, because you are building your brand, wherever you go.
It's interesting. I mean, there's things, I love talking about storytelling. I love talking about the experience. There's a book called, for anybody interested in their business, there's a book called The Experience Economy, which I think is one of my favorites. And it's basically talking about that we're creating experiences, for lack of a better phrase. It's you go to a store, you go to a brand and support it because of the way you feel, the things that they give you, the whole relationship you have with it. And so even yourself, there's an experience if they're going with you, there's experience if they're going with your competitor. What's that like? So that's something that's really important that I do look at as well. So in terms of the chamber, that's what we're about right now. The experience for the chamber is we need to be here greeting people. We need to be open. We need to be supporting our community and our businesses. And we say yes when people come in. Can you do this? Yes, we can. So even that, there's a little bit of a retail model, I think, that's going on here too now. So we're trying to dial that up a bit.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time,
thank you,
Randy.
Sorry I kept rambling a lot.
No. All right, take care.
Thank you.